What's up, everyone? This is your host, Ghost, coming to you live with another wonderful video. How are you doing today? Um, this is a recorded video. As many of you may know, if you watch my previous videos, I am taking care of my aunt who who had a stroke over the weekend. She's doing great. Just slowly, getting things back to normal for her. Um, but anyways, that's why there's been a lot of recorded videos so far. Last couple weeks. Yeah, that's basically it. Um, there wasn't one yesterday because I didn't have to take care of her. So it'll be on and off, recorded, non-recorded, stuff like that. So just be on the lookout for that. Um, let's see. So we're gonna do day 14. Day 14 of the Trump trial. If you guys remember, well, the reason we're doing it on Thursday is because Friday. Today's Friday. Or not today, but the time I'm recording this and releasing it's Friday. So the reason I just had a regular stream yesterday or this morning was due to the fact, God damn it, yeah, yesterday. So the reason I had a regular stream on Thursday was because there's no court Wednesday, so there's nothing for me to do, basically. So, there's nothing, no updates to be give. So, day 14 is going to be today, and then I will cover today, which is, I will cover Fridays on Monday, and we'll go for there. So, let's see. Little housekeeping. Make sure you follow me on X at officialwghost. That's the best way to find out when I go live, and also when I do stream live, you can watch me live on X as well. Best way to find any of my live streams is rumble.com/withghost. And then there's YouTube, youtube.com/@withghost, and then twitch.tv/officialwithghost. Those are my various channels. You can also check out my gaming channel. Didn't do any gaming this week. A little busy taking care of the wife and everything. But those are on Rumble, Gaming with Ghost, and on YouTube at Official Gaming with Ghost. So check out those various streams. All right, so let's get into this, and we will check out the Trump trial. Let's see. Hold on. How did I do this? Do this in some sort of way. We'll do it like that. Adjusting the mic. Mic out. All right. So as you can see here, yeah, okay. Sorry, just thinking. Apparently, judge has determined that photography is no longer allowed in the courtroom. Let's see. So photography inside the courtroom will no longer be permitted because someone in the photo pool violated the court order, according to reports from journalists inside the courtroom. Court officer told the photographers outside the courtroom. Let's see. A court officer told the photographers outside the courtroom that judge was no longer allowing photos for the rest of the trial. A photo was taken of Trump from the aisle while walking into the well or the area where the court proceedings happened, and officer told journalists, according to reports. The order allows photographers to snap photos from the well, officer said, according to the reports. Okay, so I'm not entirely sure what the... Oh, I guess... I don't even know what was violated, but all right, I don't really care. If you guys don't remember what was covered, Stormy Daniels was on stand. Yeah, last time we had the trial, Tuesday we did their update, or no, Wednesday when we did a trial update. Stormy Daniels was on the stand, was pretty much getting cooked by Trump's attorney. So we are going to check that out and see how the rest of it went. They kind of dismantled her and kind of showed the inconsistency she had in her various testimony. And the jury left on that note. So they left on the note where they saw that Stormy Daniels is not someone that you can really rely on because she has consistently changed her narrative. And they did that fairly well by pointing a lot of some of this stuff out. It's great for Trump's team is they were able to leave off of that and had it mulled over during the break in between. So let's get back into it. So Prosecutor Hoffinger is asking judge to preclude Trump's lawyers from asking Daniels about a past arrest. Hoffinger says the battery arrest related to an incident with her ex-husband did not result in a conviction. The judge is denying it. He says anyone can be arrested. That doesn't prove a thing, Merchant added. Defense attorney Nichols says she would ask instead if her husband had ever accused her of battery. Merchant says it's not probative of anything. So Daniels is back on the stand. All right, Nichols is showing some text messages on the screen in court. The text messages are between Rodriguez, Daniels, Stormy's Daniels' former publicist, and Howard. As she began to ask questions, judge asked the attorneys to approach the bench. Nichols is asking Daniels if she was looking for money from Trump to sell her story. At this point, you were asking for money. You wanted money from Trump, Nichols asked. No, Daniels says. I was asking to sell my story to the publications to get the truth out, Daniels said. We were running out of time, Daniels says. Then why didn't you just give it to him for free? What? Nichols challenges Daniels that it was her choice to sign the non-disclosure agreement and broker a deal with Conan through her lawyer. Daniels says, I accepted an offer. When Nichols challenged her again, Daniels said it wasn't necessarily her choice. She wanted to have a press conference, but she was running out of time, she says. So, hold on. She wanted to get, can you understand how, none of this is believable? She wanted to get the truth out. She was selling her story to get the truth out. But then she accepted an offer that would prevent her from speaking out, get her a payout, and would definitely not get the so-called truth out. Come on. Nichols is now asking Daniels about whether she recalled speaking to Slate magazine about her affair. Daniels confirms that she told Slate about the non-disclosure agreement with Conan. He was my backup in case the non-disclosure fell through, Daniels says. Numerous people wanted to publish a story, Daniels says with a small laugh. Nichols suggested Daniels wanted money from Slate. She notes that Slate was going to pay her for her story. I could have had anyone publish a story, but they weren't willing to give you money, right? Nichols asks. No, Daniels says. Yeah, she keeps saying it's not about the money, but then she sells a story, and it's all about getting the truth out. But then she sells the story to keep to specifically Michael Conan, who is Trump's lawyer, and guaranteeing not to get the story out. So it doesn't make any sense. Nichols is giving Daniels a document to refresh her memory. Nichols asks if it's correct that she told the Slate reporter that as an alternative to being paid for her silence, she wanted to be paid for her story. I don't remember saying that exactly, no, says Daniels. This is just an analysis basically saying that she's like, Daniel's value was not undermined by crossing examination, but her credibility was. Kind of is important to, your credibility is determinative of your value. If they don't believe what you're saying, then the value you so-called have isn't valuable. You don't have any valuable. You don't have any value. You can't believe a word she's saying. What value do you have? Or people can't believe a word you're saying. What value do you truly have? Daniels maintained she took the non-disclosure agreement to get my story protected by a paper trail so my family wouldn't get hurt when the story came out. What? I wanted the truth to be printed with some paper trail, she says. Nichols asked Daniels that even though she would have gotten her story out with Slate, she went with the NDA. This was a better alternative, Daniels says. Nichols challenged her, saying that it would have been a paper trail if she published her story instead of signing an NDA and accepting a settlement with a target on my back and my family's back, Daniels says in response. Remember, what she's referring to is the so-called mystery guy who showed up in July of 2011 and threatened her, but then there was no evidence of her ever being threatened at all during 2016. Let's see. Judge and the attorneys from both sides are reviewing an audio recording from Davidson, who recorded conversations with Conan on April 4th, 2018. Let's see. Danielle says she never yelled at Davidson on the phone in reference to a call between her former lawyer and Michael Conan in April 2018. In the phone call, Davidson gives Conan a heads up about the public claims that Daniels, then publicist Rodriguez's boyfriend, was going to make the press. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if he comes out and says, you know what, Stormy Daniels, she wanted this money more than you can ever imagine. I remember hearing her on the phone saying, you fucking Keith Davidson, you better settle this goddamn story, because if he loses this election, and he's going to lose, if he loses this election, we lose all fucking leverage. This case is worth zero, Davidson told Conan in April 4th, 2018 call. Daniel says the transcript notes that Gina's boyfriend was going out and telling the story, not that I was going out and telling the story. It sounds like a threat from Davidson. Davidson testified earlier that the former boyfriend was poised to give public statements in 2018, recounting his claims about Daniel's statement to her lawyer when the deal was in limbo with Conan in October 2016. Let's see. Nichols pulls up Daniel's settlement agreement from 2016. Let's see. Nichols is going through the lines of confidentiality agreement. The parties are agreeing that this would be kept confidential thereafter. Right, Daniel says. This agreement was between David Dennison and Peggy Peterson. The pseudonyms are used for Trump and Daniels. Nichols is asking Daniels whether she understood this to be a matter negotiated by her lawyer and Michael Conan. You understood this was a legal matter being settled with a legal contract, right? Nichols asked. Yes, Daniel says after a pause. Trump's attorney is now moving her line of questioning back to the January 2018 Wall Street Journal article about Daniel's settlement agreement with Trump. Daniels testified that she signed a statement denying a sexual encounter with Trump 2 days earlier. Nichols asked Daniels to confirm she knew the article was coming out before it was published because the reporter reached out for a comment. Daniels says Davidson said something was coming out. Nichols is reading a 2018 statement from Daniels denying a sexual encounter with Trump. Rumors that I had received hush money from Trump are completely false. Daniels replies, correct, because it wasn't a rumor, it was true. What? What? I mean, come on. Like, look, I know we got some stupid people in the country, all right, and there potentially could be stupid people on the jury, but I highly doubt the jury. Like, this makes as much sense if you ever watched the Johnny Depp trial, and that whole pledge and actually giving money was that Amber Heard tried to like distinguish. It's like, oh, well, I pledged it, but I wasn't gonna give the money or whatever. What was that thing where she like was really specific on saying, oh, pledged, like pledge was different than actually promising or some shit like that. like that's what this was. Like the rumors about this are false. Correct, because it wasn't a rumor, it was true. What? The rumors are saying that you would receive hush money from Trump, and you said that were false. So then that would mean that the rumors that you had received hush money is false. And then you're like, correct, because it wasn't a rumor, it was true, the truth. Like, does this make sense to anyone? Really? Like, seriously, really? Like, again, that's like the Amber Heard's fucking pledge attempting to change the meaning of the word pledge when you're talking about donating money to a charity. All right. On January 30th, 2018, Daniels put out a statement denying the sexual relationship with Trump again. I didn't release it. Daniels stays on the stand, but acknowledged she signed it. This is a statement that Daniels says she signed in her Stormy Daniels signature, different than any other time previously. You understood in 2018 that Trump was denying this relationship, and he wanted you to deny it as well, Nichols asked. Daniels says was pushed to sign the statement by Cohen via Davidson, adding, I never spoke to Cohen directly. Trump was not running for election at that point, right? Nichols asked, knowing that there was no election in 2018. He was already president, right? He was concerned about his family, right? You understand that Trump has a brand. Laughing, Daniels says, brand? Yes. Hoffinger objected. The judge allowed Daniels to answer. Nichols is now asking Daniels if she eventually wanted to publicly announce she had sex with Trump. No, nobody ever wanted to publicly say that. I wanted to publicly defend myself. You wanted to make more money, right? Nichols asked. No, that's why I did 60 Minutes for free, Daniels responded. Yeah, because, you do 60 Minutes and, there's a juicy story. No one's going to come and try and pay you for, more details into that story. Come on. Trump's attorney is continuing to ask Daniels questions about how she benefited from going public with her story. Nichols asked Daniels to confirm whether after she gave a 60 Minutes interview or for free, she got a lot of publicity. Daniels affirmed, though, she said it was bad publicity. There's no such thing as bad publicity. A ton of publicity, Nichols reiterated. Yes, Daniels replied. Nichols continues asking whether Daniels had negotiated a book contract for $80K, which Daniels confirmed. Daniels also acknowledged that her then lawyer, Avenatti, arranged her appearance on CNN and The View, but says he took everything else for himself. Now you have been paid almost $93K, almost $1 million for selling the story, Nichols asked. Ooh. Nichols is continuing to drill down on how Daniels capitalized on the moment after coming forward with her story. He capitalized by doing a strip club tour called Make America Horny Again, Nichols says. The name is a play on Trump's campaign slogan, Make America Great Again. Nichols says she fought against the name. I did not name the tour. I fought it tooth and nail, she says. But you ended up doing it anyways. Like, okay, you say you fought for tooth and nail, but you ended up doing the damn thing anyways. Nichols is asking Daniels about the advertising for the tour, specifically a photo with Daniels and Trump from a golf course meeting. Daniels raised her voice. False. I have no control over how the club advertises. Club flyers use the widespread photo of Daniels and Trump at the Lake Tahoe golf tournament advertising. He saw her live. You can too. Nichols follows up and asks whether she's selling herself on her tour to people who hated Trump. I'm not selling myself to anyone. I was performing at clubs and whoever wanted to pay admission. Yeah, selling yourself to people. The clients at the club absolutely changed, Daniels says, but again, argues she was not selling herself. I just did the job I always did. She testified, I never reposted anything that had this photo, and I never used the tagline, I hated it. Sure you did. Let's see. Nichols is asking Daniels about her appearance on reality show, The Surreal Life. Nichols asked her to confirm that the story she wanted to share was that she supposedly had sex with Trump. It was the full story about my life and what I went through because of this, Daniels answered. Okay. Nichols has been pushing Daniels through a series of questions about the monetary arrangement for a documentary she made with NBC. Nichols asked about the $100K Daniels received for the documentary, to which Daniels replies, a lot of it was footage that I had to reimburse cameramen for. They didn't have to get me to cooperate, Daniels says of filmmakers. I started filming myself. Daniels also asked whether she had an affair with one of the documentary producers. Hoffinger objected, but the judge overrules, allowing her to answer. Daniels says she was separated from her husband and did begin dating one of the cameramen on the film, saying she says he stopped filming once they began dating. Nichols asked Daniels whether she held viewing parties at bars for documentary and selling tickets. It's another way you're making money off of the documentary. And the story, Eccles asks. Daniels says she hasn't made any profit. That it's covering her travel and other expenses. So, come on. No one believes this. No one believes this. Cross-examination is drifting and could backfire for the defense. Cross-examination is now officially meandering, right? They're directionless in contrast to Tuesday, where it was very direct. Now we're into weeds of why the agreement, what her motivation was. She made money, he noted. No, the cross-examination is showing that she did a lot of this. Although she kept claiming she didn't care about money, she made up a lot of money on it, which is contradicting herself once again. It's what all this has been. Like, all this stuff is, with all this stuff, like all this tours and stuff and all the campaign, whatever, like it's showing that she didn't really care about getting the truth. She just wanted money. Back and forth between Nichols and Daniels continues. At one point in the exchange, while being questioned about the 100K, Daniels made from a documentary with NBC, Daniels says, "You're trying to trick me into saying something that's not entirely true." God. Why isn't this televised? Fuck you, Judge, for not having this televised. All right. Nichols asked Daniels if she said she'd be instrumental in putting Trump in jail. Show me where I said I'd be instrumental in putting President Trump in jail, Daniels responded. Well, defense reference a tweet from Daniels where she wrote, "Exactly, making me the best person to flush the orange turd down." President Daniels responds, "I don't see instrumental or jail anywhere in that. You're putting words in my mouth. No, we're drawing a conclusion from what you're saying." Pretty sure this is hyperbole. If someone's going to call me a toilet, I can say I'm going to flush somebody, Daniels says of the tweet. Pushing her about the tweet, Nichols says, "You didn't want to admit you meant President Trump." "Oh, I absolutely meant Mr. Trump," Daniels says, as she took a pause and didn't say President Trump. Nichols wants to introduce another tweet where Daniels is responding to someone else's tweet. Hoffinger asked to approach the bench. The objection was sustained, so they lost that objection. When Trump was indicted in this case, you were celebrating on Twitter by repeatedly tweeting and pushing your merchandise you were selling in your store, right? Nichols asked Daniels. "I tweeted about him being indicted. Yes, people asked how they could support me, so I tweeted a link to my store," Daniels said. Nichols is now showing the tweet in question to the jury, including one that had the link to Daniels' store. "That was you shilling your merchandise, right?" Nichols asked. "That is me doing my job," Daniels responded. Daniels confirmed on the stand that she was drinking champagne celebrating Trump's indictment. When Nichols asked whether she's selling items in her story about how she got the president indicted, Daniels responded, "I got President Trump indicted," raising the inflection in her voice to sound surprised. Wow, that's some false crap right there. Let's see. As Daniels testified about the merchandise she sold after Trump's indictment. Oh, I don't care. Daniels turned the question around to highlight Trump's own efforts to sell merchandise based on his criminal indictments. "You're celebrating the indictments by selling things from your store," Nichols asked. "Not unlike Trump," Daniels responded. Let's see. The former president has turned his criminal indictments into fundraising opportunities, including the form of T-shirts featuring his mug from his case in Georgia. Yeah, that was hilarious. Merchandise in question, the defense has highlighted several items from Daniels' website for the jury, including Stormy Saints of Indictment candles and Team Stormy shirts. Nichols asked whether Daniels is bragging with the candle that she got Trump indicted. I'm not bragging. I think it's funny," Daniels says. There's also a $30 comic book called Political Power Stormy Daniels. Keep in mind, I didn't write this comic book. Daniels is laughing, but confirms she is selling it. Again, all they're doing here is just proving that yes, she has a lot to gain by lying about the story because she's making money off it. Nichols is asking whether Daniels plans to keep making money off of Trump. I plan to continue my job and fund my extraordinary legal bills, Daniels says. Nichols is now going over Daniels' venture to create a show about paranormal. She asks if she has claimed her house in New Orleans is haunted. Daniels confirms the venture, added they brought in experts there. It was a lot of interesting and unexplained events, she says. A lot of activity was completely debunked as a giant possum, she added with a laugh. Nichols is asking Daniels about her history making porn movies. You have a lot of experience making phony stories about sex appear to be real, Nichols says. Wow, Daniels says with a pause. That's not how I would put it. The sex in the film is very much real, just like it happened to me in that room. They're sparring over whether Daniels made up the story with Trump. If the story was untrue, I would have written it a lot better, Daniels said. Really? That's your defense? It has to be true because it's so poorly written. That's not a good story. Have you seen porn? There's a lot of porn that has really bad writing. Nichols is challenging Daniels on the specific description she gave the floors of Trump's hotel room that she testified to earlier during direct examination. That had been part of your prep, that you were supposed to include certain details in your testimony, right? Nichols asked, calling out a moment when prosecutors Hoffinger asked Daniels if she mentioned the tile floor. Nichols says that Daniels' story has changed a lot over the years, right? No, Daniels responded. No, it has. This is a terrible... Dude, Jake Tapper, don't draw. You suck. Daniels is now being asked about how Trump's bodyguard, Schuyler, asked her to have dinner with Trump. Nichols asked, that's a totally different story than you told in 2011, isn't it? Nichols asked her to confirm she told In Touch magazine that Trump personally asked her to dinner. Daniels says on the stand that she doesn't remember saying. Daniels says, I didn't specify. I left out the names of all the people not to get them involved. Convenient, eh? In the interview, Daniels said at the time he came to talk to me and asked me for my number, and I gave it to him. Daniels also told the magazine in 2011, he said, I want to come talk to you later. Judge told Nichols to give Daniels time to answer each question. The two are going back and forth so quickly they're stepping over each other's sentences. Nichols has been pressing Daniels, and Daniels often pushed back on the attorney's account of events. Nichols is focusing repeatedly on Daniels' comments in 2011's article in the gossip magazine In Touch about a dinner with Trump. Daniels has pushed back on Nichols, trying to highlight potential discrepancies in her story, saying the article wasn't meant to be a perfect record of the events. This is an entertainment magazine. It's short and frivolous. It's abbreviated entertainment version of the events, Daniels says of the interview. Nichols asked if Daniels was telling the truth in her 2011 interview. It is, minus some details, responded. Details like it actually happened. Nichols asked whether she made a big deal about not getting dinner when going to Trump's hotel room. I went to dinner. I didn't get dinner, Daniels says. Nichols is reading a few different interview accounts from over the years, including Daniels telling Kimball she was very food motivated, so she stayed in the hotel because she was holding out for dinner. Nichols then asked whether Daniels said the opposite in her 2011 In Touch interview. I never said we ate, Daniels says. Nichols is now bringing up the articles for Daniels to review. Daniels defended herself. My story's the same. I've maintained I didn't see any food, Daniels. It was dinner, but we never got food. All of these interviews, I would have talked about the food, Daniels added. Again, I really wish we could actually see this shit. All right. Nichols is now pressing Daniels about her 2018 interview with Anderson Cooper. During the interview, Cooper asked Daniels if they went out for dinner. She says no. He asked if they had dinner in the room. She says yes. Daniels says it was dinner time, but they didn't eat dinner. What? So he asked if they had dinner in the room. She says yes. It was dinner time, but they didn't eat. So you didn't have dinner in the room then. It was just dinner time and you were in the room. We did not have any food. I did not eat any food. I maintained that in every interview. That has not changed. Daniel says, when you said to Cooper, you didn't really mean you had dinner. You meant something else, Nichols asked. We had dinner time in the room. What? Daniel says, come on, people. Your words don't mean what they say, do they, Nichols says. Judge sustained an objection. Yeah, that's not surprising. Like, what is this? We had dinner time in the room. Oh, okay. But when asked if you had dinner in the room, she said yes. Like, what is this crap? We've heard a lot about a dinner, namely whether it was eaten or not, when Trump and Daniels met, as Nichols zeroes in on what she argues is an inconsistency in Daniels' story. So you're saying when you said we had dinner, you didn't mean that, right? Nichols says. Daniels has repeatedly argued that saying the two met to have dinner doesn't necessarily mean they ate. Yeah, but if you say we had dinner or we have dinner, that means you've eaten. Nichols again pressed about dinner. Yes, like I said, it was dinner time in the room, Daniels says. Daniels has further testified, appearing exasperated, that when she goes to someone's house for dinner, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to eat. That is exactly what it means. Like, is common words not common anymore? If you're saying, I'm going to someone's house for dinner, generally it means you're going to have dinner at their house. I have never heard, besides here, ever hearing someone saying, I'm going to someone's house for dinner, but I'm not actually going to eat. Like, what? Like, there's one thing about, like, going there for dinner and then not being hungry, but you still have, like, a few snacks and shit. Like, come on. The common understanding is, if I'm going to go to someone's house for dinner, I'm eating. Nichols is now moving on to question about whether Daniels walked to the hotel or took a car. The details of your story keeps changing, right? Nichols asks. No, Daniels says. She testified she took a car from a tattoo shop to Trump's hotel and says, I don't know how a car was called. Nichols asks if they're going to take a morning break. Judge says he'd like to go a little longer. Nichols is now focused on what happened when Daniels entered the hotel room, questioned that she said Trump was sprawled out on the couch watching television and that he greeted her. He did both. He greeted me in the foyer. I assumed he was watching TV because he definitely wasn't getting dressed, Daniels responded. Nichols asked why she didn't say that in the 2011 In Touch interview. No, I did not. Like I said, it was a shorter interview, Daniels says. Come on. Nichols is suggesting that Daniels sees naked men and women in these movies all the time, questioning whether it was surprising to her to see a man in boxer shorts and a t-shirt, to the point she felt like she was going to faint. Daniels is pushing back, saying, if I came out of the bathroom and saw an older man in his underwear that I wasn't expecting to see there, yeah. Nichols is continuing to press Daniels on the hotel room encounter. This wasn't the first time in your life someone made a pass at you, Nichols says. No, but it's the first time they had a bodyguard standing outside the door, Daniels added. She adds that Trump was twice her age and bigger than her, but you were still cunty to him. Nichols is confronting Daniels about what she told in Touch in 2011 about the encounter. In that article, Daniels said Trump told her, come here, and they started kissing on the bed. Daniels confirms Trump did say, come here. You made this all up, right? Nichols says. No, says Daniels. Nichols says that Daniels didn't say Trump stood up in the interview. This is an abbreviated version, Daniels reiterates, also saying she wasn't trying to get money at the time. Oh, okay, sure. Nichols is now focusing on the 2018 interview with Slate, asking Daniels whether she told the publisher that there was no abuse with what happened with Trump and you were not a victim. Yes, Daniels says. In that interview, Nichols says that Daniels said the worst thing Trump did was break promises he never believed he could fulfill, including buying her a condo in Florida and getting her on a Celebrity Apprentice. That's hilarious. Trump's selling these hoes a dream. You didn't say anything about feeling faint when this happened, Nichols asked of her alleged sexual encounter with Trump. No, because the question was about what Trump did, and Trump did not drug me. That was how I felt, Daniels responds. Nichols also asked about whether Daniels described a power imbalance or being scared because of a bodyguard in her previous recounting of the story. Daniels says she maintains I was not physically threatened or drugged. Nichols is asking Daniels about her testimony on Tuesday when Daniels said Trump's action made her feel like she had to have sex with him. My own insecurities made me feel that way, Daniels says. She went on, he did not put his hands on me. He did not give me any sort of drugs or alcohol. He did not hold a weapon or hold me or threaten me. So you consensually had sex with him, but then said that you were violated earlier? Nichols is questioning why Daniels didn't say that Trump stood in front of her in 2018 Vogue interview. Nichols again says, your story is completely strange. With a look of exasperation and a smile, Daniels raises her voice saying, no! You're trying to make me say things that it changed, but it hasn't changed, she says. Yes, it has. Multiple times. Nichols is now asking Daniels about her. Also, I think Nichols missed a kind of a point here, because before, earlier, like when she was getting a direct examination, she said how she confronted Trump, said he was rude, said he was, an asshole and rude, and hit him and assaulted him with a magazine and stuff. But also she was so afraid that she just felt she had to have sex with him. Like what the fuck? Or, no, now she says, her insecurities made her do it, or whatever the fuck I mean. But, she talked about this power dynamic, but that power dynamic didn't seem to be there when she berated him for, acting inappropriately and hitting him with a magazine. Like, she didn't feel that scare, that, there was no power dynamic fear there, but, all of a sudden there was a bunch of power dynamic fear. It's bullshit. Nichols is now asking Daniels about her meeting with Trump and Ben Roethlisberger at the nightclub, questioning how long the meeting lasts. Daniels has testified it was about 10 minutes, but Nichols says Daniels wrote in her book it was an hour. Damn, this chick does not know how to keep a story straight. Mr. Trump, Daniels testified, Mr. Trump left first. Daniel says now saying he was there maybe 10 or 15 minutes. She clarifies she stayed later with Roethlisberger. Court's taking a break. Jake Tapper, you cannot draw. Don't draw. Leave it up to the professionals, Mike. All right, back on the stand. Cross-examination continues. Nichols is asking returning to the Make America Horny Again strip club tour, reminding Daniels that she testified she hates the name, which is a play on Trump's campaign slogan, Make America Great Again. Nichols asked whether Daniels ever posted about it on social media. Sometimes they maybe retweet them, Daniels says. Jury is seeing 2 posts about the tour from Daniels' Instagram in 2018. Earlier today, Daniels testified she never posted about the tour. That's not my personal Instagram. That's my business Instagram. Really? When asked about not posting on the tour, that it definitely includes all completely. Like, come on. Nichols says, is now asking about the celebrity golf tournament in Lake Tahoe, where Daniels and Trump met. Nichols asked if Trump played well in the tournament. I don't know what the scores were, she says. People were recognizing who he was, Nichols asked. Yes, but they were recognizing me where I went that day too, Daniels says with a shrug. No one recognized you, you dumb bitch. Oh, you dumb bitch. No one recognized you. Shut up. All right, Nichols is asking Daniels, you last spoke with Trump in 2007? Yes, Daniel says. That was a long time ago, right? Nichols asked. Yes, ma'am, Daniels responded. Throughout today's proceedings, Nichols has brought up interviews Daniels gave about Trump with various publications, including Vogue and Touch and Slate over the years. She has singled out apparent discrepancies in Daniels' recounting of events and pressed the witness about them repeatedly. This just came up again with Nichols challenging Daniels about exactly what she told Vogue in 2018. Daniels says she doesn't control what parts of her quotes magazines ultimately include in an article based on her interview. Sometimes they give too many details, she said, raising her eyebrows. Okay. Nichols asked Daniels if she knows what Trump is charged with. I don't really understand. I'm just here to answer questions asked to me, she says. There's a lot of indictments, she says. Nichols asked if she knows anything about Trump's business records. I know nothing about his business records. No, why would I? Daniels responds. Let's see. In her final question to Daniels, Nichols says, you never had an affair with President Trump, but realized you could earn money by claiming you did. That's a good question to ask. Judge sustained an objection to the question, and that's when cross-examination wrapped up. That's great. That is great. Because here's the thing. She knew she wasn't going to get an answer to that question. She knew there was going to be an objection. This was an intelligent tactic. Because she knew they weren't going to allow her to answer that question. But the jury has heard this question. And now they're thinking, well, shit, we didn't get an answer. And regardless of what the judge says, they're going to take that into account. They didn't let her answer that question. That's really weird. All right, so cross-examination is over. Redirect. Prosecution does it's beginning redirect. Hoffinger is beginning redirect. Almost good afternoon, Ms. Daniels. How are you? She starts off. Let's see. Hoffinger is walking through Daniels' motivation for entering into the non-disclosure agreement, including her fear of safety. Daniels recalled being told that about being safer hidden in plain sight. Something won't happen to you if everyone is looking at you, Daniels says, noting it was one of the reasons she signed the NDA. You were also happy to take the money. We're all happy to take money. It's just a bonus, Daniel says. Hoffinger is going through the prior testimony from Daniels, trying to illustrate the defense left a lot of information out of their line of questioning. Hoffinger is showing the jury text between Howard and Rodriguez. I thought she denounced it previously, Howard said to Rodriguez in text in reference to her story with Trump. She never did, Rodriguez writes back, but Hoffinger notes that the defense did not show that last text from Rodriguez during cross-examination. Okay. Let's see. Hoffinger is focusing on Daniel's 60 Minutes interview. You didn't tell every single detail to Anderson Cooper, did you? Hoffinger asked. No, Daniel says in a soft voice. She's all non-confrontational. Now she's all sweet and mousy. Hoffinger also shows the In Touch article in 2011 and says it was lightly edited, noting again that Nichols did not mention that during cross-examination. Let's see. So Nichols objected to admitting something into evidence related to an interview, prompting the sidebar. Nichols is objecting after prosecution asked, in terms of context, you did tell Cooper that you had sex with Mr. Trump. Daniels agrees. Lawyers are in another sidebar. I have no idea how it ended. The prosecution is going back and through some of Daniels' tweets, attempting to show that some of her negative posts about Trump were in response to those hateful posts. In one tweet, Daniels says of Trump, I'll dance down the street when he's selected to go to jail. The defense that had shown this tweet and highlighted how Daniels appears to be celebrating Trump's legal troubles. Hoffinger is now showing the tweet Daniels was responding to when she wrote the message. The Twitter user called Daniels a disgusting, degenerate prostitute and said Trump would be selected in a landslide in 2024, adding, good luck walking down the street after this. These are tame, actually, Daniels says, of more tweets being shown to jurors from random people attacking her. A post from Trump on True Social is being shown to jury. If you go after me, I'm coming after you, it reads. Daniels says she thought it was aimed at her because it was right after Trump filed a lawsuit against her in Florida. Daniels said she didn't testify before the grand jury. You did you had nothing to do with the charges in the case, Hoffinger asked. I did not. Then why is she up here? Hoffinger notes that Nichols had suggested Daniels was responsible for Trump's indictment. I don't think she was talking about that. I think she was trying to infer that she was using the indictments, to make money off of it. I think that was the inference she was actually trying to get, not that Daniels was actually responsible for the indictments. And if she has nothing to do with the charges in this case, why is she here, prosecutor? Why is she here? Let's see. Daniels testified that she's telling the truth about Trump. This should have been an objection. Hoffinger asked, have you been telling lies about Mr. Trump or the truth about Mr. Trump? The truth, Daniels says. That should have been an objection right there. Hoffinger is recounting Daniels' comments on direct examination, saying that while she made money with her story about Trump, it also cost her. Daniels says she says now she had to hire security and move her daughter to a safe place to live, in addition to the money she owes Trump in attorney fees. Now there's another recross. Nichols is going back to Daniels' tweets and written attacks from users. Nichols asked whether that on Twitter, strangers post nasty things, right? You engage in these kind of back and forth with your strangers all the time, Nichols asked. Sure, Daniel says. I was defending myself, Daniel says. I never attacked anybody first, same with Trump. I didn't say anything negative until he said it about me, Daniel says. That's it? Okay. Daniels is done. So Daniels, her testimony is important. No, it's not actually. She's a main character, but she can't speak of to the charges of falsifying business records or really whether Trump did this to influence the election. That's not a charge, my man. I'm pretty sure that's not a charge. Like Trump did this to influence the election. That's not a charge. Though she did undercut the defense that this was done to protect his family. Not really. Not really. All that was shown was that she's very inconsistent with her stories and kind of a bullshitter. All right. So next witness testify is Rebecca Manocchio. I don't know. Prosecutor Mangold is I'm just going to call her Rebecca because I can't pronounce the last name well. Trump Organization bookkeeper Rebecca says that she has worked at the company for 11 years. I worked at the supermarket and then I got a job at the Trump Organization in 2013, she says. She has complied to testify via a subpoena and is answering questions from Prosecutor Mangold. Don't care about that part. Rebecca is testifying that her responsibilities while working for Weisselberg. She worked as an assistant to Weisselberg for 8 years and sat outside his office. Weisselberg and Trump had interacted every day. Rebecca says she attached invoices to checks for Weisselberg to sign. She also worked for former executive McConney, who was a controller at the time. When asked what a controller is, Rebecca said she didn't know. Earlier in the trial, McConney was called to stand and testify about Michael Cohen's payments were listed in Trump's financial documents. How Michael Cohen's payments were listed in Trump's financial documents. Rebecca is testifying that Trump's personal expenses were handled by the Trump Organization, and he paid her his expenses by check. When Trump was in the White House, Rebecca says she would FedEx checks to Trump once a week. Rebecca is testifying that she often sent 10 to 20 checks at a time. Rebecca says that she sent the checks unsigned and they would come back signed by Trump, typically within a few days. The checks were sent back to her at the Trump Organization. If she didn't get a check back, Rebecca said she would reach out to Westerhout at the White House. She would just look for it and see if she had it. Rebecca says of Westerhout, when a check was missing, when the signed check came to her, the backup invoices were still attached to them, she says. When she received the check from Washington, she would give them to Tarasoff. Tarasoff was the accounting worked in the accounting department. Let's see. Rebecca is being used now to get the Trump Organization emails and FedEx invoices into evidence. The jury is currently being shown a FedEx invoice from May 29th of 17. Rebecca is listed as the sender of the invoice. Scheller, who served as Trump's organization director of security, is the recipient. Checks were sent to Schindler's home address in Washington, D.C., the bookkeeper says. It was sent with FedEx priority overnight service, as always, Rebecca said. Let's see. Prosecution continues to use Rebecca to introduce documents as evidence, focusing on a series of correspondence regarding Trump's personal checks from 2017. Several invoices show several invoices show packages shipped from Rebecca to Scheller. Do you ever send anything to Scheller other than checks to sign? The prosecutors asked the bookkeeper. No. Prosecutors then show an email from McEntee, Trump White House aide, from September 7, 2017. It shows that he asked to get in touch with Rebecca because with Scheller leaving the company, he would need Trump's personal checks mailed to him. All right. So yeah, all this is just to show how the money was moved and kind of show that Trump had some knowledge of it. That's all this is showing. Prosecutors are now showing Rebecca another FedEx invoice. This one, Rebecca sent a package to the personal address of McEntee. The customer reference code on the invoice changed to AW from DT, which she sent packages to she sent packages to McEntee. Asked why, Rebecca's, I just like to switch it up, with a smile and laugh. Rebecca is testifying about these FedEx receipts because Trump's attorneys would not stipulate that these were official records kept at the Trump Organization. Let's see. So there's three issues that are going to be raised by the defense that will be taken up after the jury leaves today. Renewed motion for mistrial. Preclude McDougal from testifying, an issue having to do with the gag order related to Daniels. Judge says the trial will break at 4 p.m. and they'll take that up afterwards. Lunch. And then the cross-examination will begin. Back in the court. Cross-examination is underway. Nichols is the cross-examiner. You didn't really interact with Trump, right? No, Rebecca said. Under cross-examination, Rebecca confirmed her understanding that Trump is the only person who could sign his personal checks. She says no business expense were sent to him in the same way. Nichols asked whether it was all the checks for all his personal expenses sent to Trump. Correct. It was no business expense that were being sent to him. Correct. These were all personal bills that had to be paid promptly, right? Yes. Rebecca is testifying about how Trump had personal expense checks sent to him in Washington, D.C. when he was president. Similarly, Ivanka Trump also had her personal checks sent down to D.C. for her to sign while she was involved in the White House before they were sent back, Rebecca confirms. And that's it. So, yeah, so all the, they based what the defense just did was just say, like, these were just all personal checks. And again, what he's charged with is 34 counts of falsifying business records. So they're saying that all of these were personal checks. Next witness waiting. Tracy Menzies, who works at HarperCollins, is the next witness. She is the senior vice president of production and creative operations. She has a book with her on the witness stand because that's probably super important. I don't know. Mangold is questioning Menzies of HarperCollins. Menzies is testifying as a custodian of records for HarperCollins, which was subpoenaed. There's probably a bunch of records. Okay, so these are like records for her to basically get into evidence. She's the foundation to get this stuff into evidence. Menzies holds up a copy of Trump's book, Think Big, Make It Happen in Business and Life, so the courtroom can see. So that's the book she has. That's why it was important. She says Trump narrated a part of the audiobook. Let's see. Like with Trump's other books, Mangold is asking about the prominence of Trump's name on the cover of the book, Think Big, Make It Happen in a Billionaire's Life. Menzies notes Trump's name is larger than his co-author, Billy Zenker. Hold on. That's fine. Different sections of the books are written by the different authors, Menzies says. Trump's words, or at least the writing, is serif font, and Zenker's is in non-serif, she says. Okay, so now we're looking at a bunch of excerpts in the book. Menzies is reading them aloud. I used to say, go out and get the best people and trust them. Over the years, I've seen too many shenanigans, and now I say, get the best people and don't trust them. Do not trust them, because if you don't know what you're doing, they're going to rob you blind. As a matter of fact, I value loyalty above everything else, more than brains, more than drive, and more than energy. I just can't stomach disloyalty. I put people who are loyal to me on a high pedestal and take care of them very well. I go out of my way for the people who are loyal to me in bad times. I think the reason we have so many loyal people is that we reward loyalty, and everyone knows that it's become a part of corporate culture of the Trump organization. People like Weiselbergs and Calamari are great and have proven themselves over the years. Again, this is trying to show that, hey, he didn't, he was micromanaging, so he knew everything that was going on. Prosecutors are using Menzies' testimony to present jurors more excerpts from the book. My motto is always get even. When someone screws you, you screw them back in spades. When you are wrong, go after those people because it's a good feeling because other people will see you doing it. Get even is not always a personal thing. It's just part of doing business. And that's the finishing of the conversations. Blanche is the one cross-examining her and asked Menzies whether was part of publishing this book. I guess whether she was part of publishing these books. No, I was not. She is looking at excerpts on 6 pages. Blanche is asking Menzies to confirm generally book covers are designed and developed for sales. She confirms they are designed to help sell the book, but they are done very closely with the author. Blanche follows up and asks whether she picked the excerpts to read or the prosecution did. I did not pick them, Menzies says. And she's off the stand. All done. Okay, now it's Trump's personal assistant. Westerhout is the next witness, former director of Oval Office Operations, Trump's personal assistant. She was one of the chief gatekeepers of the president as his personal assistant, the Trump White House real-world equivalent of Sue in Veeps or Miss Landingham in West Wing. From her desk directly outside the Oval Office, she observed every coming and going over more than 2.5 years. Westerhout is smiling and speaking towards the jury. That she worked for Trump at the White House. I am now. Yes, she says when asked if she was nervous to testify, letting out a small giggle. All right, Westerhout says she's now a chief of staff to a chairman of the Geopolitical Consulting Forum. She has complied to appear by subpoena and says her lawyer is graciously taking this case pro bono. So the reason she left, it looks like, she left her role after she revealed details about his children at an off-the-record dinner with reporters in Bedminster, New Jersey. Westerhout is being asked about the Access Hollywood tape. At the time, I recall it rattling RNC leadership, she says. Westerhout is asked if there were discussions about replacing Trump on the presidential ticket after the Access Hollywood tape. It's my recollection there were conversations about how to, if it was needed, but it would be possible to replace him as candidate if it came to it, or how it would be possible. After Trump was elected, Westerhout worked out of Trump Tower and helped schedule interviews for high-level staff roles for the administration. She was nicknamed by the media the Greeter Girl. Westerhout said she worked seamlessly with Graf, who still maintained Trump's schedule. Graf was integral in helping the RNC team schedule interviews for Trump during the transition, Westerhout says. Westerhout recalls her then boss asked if she wanted a job sitting outside the Oval Office. With a big smile looking at the jury, Westerhout said, yes, I do. That sounds like a really cool job. I knew I was going to sit outside the Oval Office. I didn't really care what my title was, she testified. The map of the first floor of the West Wing is being shown to the jury. Westerhout office was in the outer Oval Office, which is where the president, secretaries, and assistants sat, she says. Westerhout testified that in the first few months of Trump's presidency, no one else sat closer to Trump. Westerhout adds that Hope Hicks also sat in an area with her during her time working in the White House. Westerhout's title was Special Assistant to the President and Executive Assistant to the President. Her focus was the President. Mangold asked whether that was her only focus. I tried to have it be my only focus, she says, with a bit of a laugh. She worked in the White House until August of 2019 for about 2.5 years. At some point, I switched to the desk that was further away, but it was in line of sight to the Resolute desk. That was more helpful for the president and I to communicate, she said. She said, likes to speak to people in person or on the phone. Asked how many people Trump would typically speak to in a day, Westerhout says a lot. Westerhout testified about how she would take calls from early morning to late at night. Westerhout says he would take calls as early as 6 a.m. and would be taking calls late at night after she had gone to bed. Westerhout says the calls were screened for the president. They would typically come to her if Trump was in the Oval Office. If he was in the Oval Office, the calls would come to her first, she says. Trump preferred hard copy documents. His former Westerhout testified. She says Trump did not use a computer or have an email address to her knowledge. Westerhout is providing details about working for the former president. She says they kept the Resolute desk pristine for meetings, and Trump spent his time going over documents in the dining room. It was really his working office, Westerhout says. Trump preferred to sign things himself, Westerhout testified. He liked to use Sharpies and, I believe, a felt tip pen, she says. Asked if Trump paid attention to details, Westerhout says, in my experience, yes. To my understanding, the president knew where things were, and he kept things organized, she says, adding that he had lots of papers and often brought a lot of things back and forth between the residence, Air Force One, and Marine One. Westerhout confirms that in her experience, Trump typically likes to read things before signing them. Again, this is establishing that any checks that were sent to him, he actually read. That's what this is establishing. Let's see. My understanding is that he was attentive to things that were brought to his attention, even during busy periods, Westerhout said. To my understanding, he liked to use the Oxford comma, Westerhout says. I don't know what that means. The fuck does that mean? Okay, is the final comma that can be used or omitted in a series. Okay, I have no idea what that means, but whatever. Graf was Westerhout's point of contact at Trump Tower when she had any questions, especially the first few weeks. I think Rana and I'm guessing, spoke at least weekly, sometimes daily. The trick that trickled off as I grew into the role, and contacts shifted over more to the White House side, she said. She said she coordinated his contacts, his calendar, his golf schedule, his personal mail, and among other things. Mangold asked Westerhout whether the former president used social media while in the White House. Yes, he did, Westerhout says, adding he posted tweets himself. Let's see. Former White House Deputy Chief of Staff Dan Scavino also had access to Trump's Twitter account, she testified. She does not believe anyone else had access. Scavo might post an event video recapping without Trump seeing it, but Westerhout said the president did like to see the tweets that went out. My recollection there were certain words he would like to capitalize, like words like country, and he liked to use exclamation points, Westerhout says. Trump would review hard copies of post drafts and handwritten edits. Westerhout continues, she'd fix them and reprint them with his edits. Let's see, being shown an email on January 24th of 17. Westerhout asked Graf to send her contacts of those Trump most frequently spoke to. Westerhout emailed Graf on January 24th, 2017. Could you have the girls put together a list of people they frequently spoke to? I don't want to have to bug you all the time, even though I still often call. That's a smiley face. Let's see. Jurors are being shown a list of contacts. The contact list Graf provided to Westerhout with the phone numbers redacted. Here's who was on the list: David Pecker, Bill O'Reilly, Charles Kushner, Matt Calamari, Jack Nicklaus, Tiffany Trump, Joe Scarborough, Nelson Peltz, Phil Ruffin, Lou Ridlandi, Gianni Piero, Ike Perlmutter, Robert Trump, Marianne Trump Berry, Alan Weiselberg, Steve Wine, Serena Williams, Ari Emanuel, David Friedman, Jerry Falwell, Sean Hannity, Tom Barack, Tom Brady, and Pam Bondi. That's fun. It's just funny. I bet a lot of those celebrities like, oh shit, I wish my name wasn't mentioned, that he frequently talked to me. As the court reviews a list of Trump's most regular contacts, that was sent to former assistant Westerhout during the transition to the White House. Mangold has zeroed in on two key names. Pecker and Conan both appeared on the list. I didn't read Michael Conan on this list. They just made that the fuck up. Yeah, I didn't. No, Cohen's not on that list. You fucking liars. Pivotal players in the alleged hush money scheme, as laid out by the prosecution. Mangold asked Westerhout whether Conan and Trump had a close relationship at that time. Yes, she says. The jury is now being shown an email dated February 5th, 2017. It's from Westerhout to Conan. It's about a meeting. We were confirmed for 4:30 p.m. on Wednesday. The email reads, the email, Westerhout asks Conan for details he needs to provide to get clearance from Secret Service into the White House, including his social security number, date of birth, and city and state of residence. Conan was coming in to meet with the president, she says, about why she sent that email, though she also said she doesn't remember the meeting specifically. Okay, so prosecutors are alleging Conan and Trump worked out the reimbursement at a February meeting in the Oval Office. So that's what they're alleging. Now, having proof of that, but that's what they're alleging apparently. All right, jury is now texting. Is now seeing a text thread between Westerhout and longtime aide Hope Hicks from March 2017. Hey, the president wants to know if you called Pecker again, Westerhout wrote. The former Trump assistant says she doesn't remember the event surrounding the text and adds it wasn't unusual for her to send a message like this to Hicks. Hicks testified earlier in the trial, and this exchange came up during her testimony as well. But still no context about what it was. Westerhout emailed Graf, January 2017, asking her to send a photo to Weiselberg, who was the chief financial officer for the Trump organization. He sent to his family and wanted Allen to see it as well, first time boarding Air Force One. Westerhout wrote in the email referring to Trump. Let's see. Mangold is asking Westerhout understanding of how Trump's personal expenses were handled. Checks were sent from Trump organization to an employee at the White House. I brought them in for the president to sign, Westerhout testified. She says she would take a manila folder with a stack of checks to Trump when she received them. I didn't really dig around in the folder, but I believe there were invoices attached to some of those checks sometimes. She said it was consistent that checks would regularly be sent, maybe twice a month. Asked how many checks she would receive at a time, Westerhout says sometimes there was one, sometimes a stack, maybe half an inch thick. I never counted. I can't speak to the ones I didn't see him sign, she says. Westerhout said after Trump signed the checks, he would give the folder back to me, and she would put them in a pre-labeled FedEx envelopes to send back to the Trump organization. Mangold asked Westerhout read a handwritten note Graf wrote on an invoice for the Winged Foot Golf Club, asking if he wanted her to look into suspending the membership for 4 to 8 years. Written in black Sharpie, pay at the bottom, ASAP, which is underlined in Sharpie next to Trump's short signature, Westerhout says. This included in the stack of checks, so he individually approved the invoices. Mangold confirms with Westerhout. Winged Foot is a golf course in Westchester, New York. Trump likes his golf. Another email is being displayed in court. This one is between Westerhout and Graf about buying a picture frame for a family photo. Please note the frames are on the pricey side, about $650 minus 15% discount. Does DJT want to spend that much? Graf emailed Westerhout. We may have made the executive decision without his approval. She says, adding, sorry, sir, directed at Trump as she shrugs her shoulders. That's funny. She says, I don't recall any other instance like that where Trump weighed in on an expense at this price point. It was for a photo of his mother, Westerhout recalls. Mangold asked Westerhout if she recalls the Stormy Daniels story coming out. I remember he was very upset about it, Westerhout says of it. Westerhout recalls Trump and Conan spoke around the time of the Stormy Daniels story. Westerhout recalls Trump's relationship with Melania. There was really no one else that could put him in his place, too. He was my boss, but she was definitely the one in charge. I just remember thinking that their relationship was really special. They laugh a lot when she came into the Oval Office, she added. Westerhout broke down in tears as she described the circumstance of her departure from the White House. She noted she said some things she shouldn't have and said she was very regretful of my youthful indiscretions. I've grown a lot since then, she said as she started to tear up. Judge hands her a tissue. Westerhout abruptly left the White House in 2019. After sharing intimate details about the president's family with reporters. I can't blame that. If I was president and I was like, hey, don't talk about my family, just keep them out, out of the press and stuff, and someone said something, they'd probably be fired too. So I get it. She continues to fight back tears as Nichols takes a stand for cross-examination. Westerhout is talking about her book, Off the Record, My Dream Job at the White House, how I lost it, and what I learned. I thought it was really important to share with the American people the man I got to know, she says, tearing up again. I don't think he's treated fairly, and I wanted to tell that story. Westerhout's book was published by Center Street, an imprint that specializes in conservative media. Other authors include Christine Nomi. Oh, that's not a good name to have. Remember, Christine Nomi is the South Dakota governor who decided to brag about shooting her dog and leaving it in the gravel. Newt Gingrich and Ben Carson. Westerhout, who has grown emotional while recounting the events leading up to her leaving the White House, said she wrote a flattering book because she still felt positive towards Trump. I didn't have any anything negative to say, so why should I write it? She testified. Trump forgave you, right? Nichols asked. He did, Westerhout says. Nichols is asking about the Access Hollywood tape. Notes there was constrention. There was also some event that everyone said, that's it, he's not going to win, she asked. Yeah, Westerhout says. And everyone around would be freaking out, Nichols asked. Yeah? Not Trump, she followed up. No, Westerhout says. Nichols was getting at the idea that the Access Hollywood tape, which prosecutors say was key to the motivation that Trump wanted to keep the Daniels story quiet, did not concern Trump like it did to those around him. Let's see. Nichols confirmed with Westerhout that Trump wasn't the RNC's preferred choice in 2016. Oh no, she said with a small laugh. Always some event that everyone says that's it, Nichols said while clapping her hands. He's not going to win. Westerhout agreed, saying yes. Westerhout, under cross-examination, says she enjoyed working for Trump. He never once made me feel like I didn't deserve that job and that I didn't belong there. Especially in an office full of older men, he never made me feel like I didn't belong there. He was a really good boss, Westerhout says. I found him very enjoyable to work for. When asked, Westerhout testified he is very close to his family and his wife. She's seen Trump talking on the phone with his wife when he was in the Oval Office, Westerhout says. She also recalls hearing him say, honey, come over to the window. The former assistant explained there was a window in the residence where Melania could wave to the president in the Oval Office. They'd stand by the window and wave to each other, Westerhout said, smiling. That's cute. All right. I don't care whether you like Trump or not. That's fucking cute. Hold on. I don't care what you say. That's fucking adorable. That's adorable. And that's a perfect way to end things, too, because now the jury's dismissed for the day. You get that cute interaction for the day. That's cute. That's cute. Ooh, I wonder why 2 members of the public were removed from the courtroom by security. McDougal will not be testifying, according to Blanche. The people informed me they no longer intend to call Miss McDougal, he says. Oh, that's good. Doesn't really have anything to do with this now, does it? We asked that Trump is allowed to respond publicly to what happened in court the past day and a half, Blanche says to the judge. He specifically asked for Trump to be permitted to comment on Daniels' testimony and her part of her story, in part to respond to media coverage. The press reporting over the past 24 hours about the current events that we believe is completely false, Blanche says it is significant. It's Trump now having to not respond to this new version of events that now deals very deeply with the very issue that a sexual event that took place in 2006, Blanche adds. In making his argument, Blanche says Trump will be asked repeatedly over the next 2 weeks or two about these new accusations of consent and what happened that night. He's not allowed to say, I did not do that. For voters who are seeing this coverage, our attorney argues. Speaking, Conroy is saying it seems as though the other side almost lives in an alternate reality. If someone wants to respond to something in this room, that can happen in this room. It's not supposed to happen out there. What? Conroy says that people say things with the defendant in mind. I'm not in a position to say at his direction or anything close to that. Conroy, during the discussion about the exemption to the gag order, noted a time when Daniels' home address was displayed accidentally on screen during her testimony. You could see the fear in her eyes. What? Come on, that's bullshit. Let's see, scribbling notes. Let's see, Conroy says there has been a very real consequences for witnesses, he said. There have been custodial witnesses who have expressed fear about their safety. The fact that the witnesses are brave enough to come here under subpoena, that's not brave. That's not brave. They're forced to come here. They can be charged if they're not if they don't come under a subpoena. That's what a subpoena is. Shouldn't expose themselves to defense's bars of threats that will put them and potentially their family in danger. Modifying the gag order mid-trial would signal to future witnesses that they could be at risk as well, he argues. Let's see. Conroy is citing Trump's own words from his book shown in court earlier today. When you are wrong, go after these people because it's a good feeling and because other people will see you doing it. Getting even is not always a personal thing. It's just part of doing business. Blanche responds to the prosecution arguments about the gag order exception by saying everything you just heard is different in kind from our request. You have Ms. Daniels, who came in yesterday and today and was allowed to talk about a completely different version of events. Judge Stanton asked what he's specifically referring to. Blanche reads Daniels' testimony about the room spinning when she was with Trump in the hotel. Help me understand how that alters set of facts. One is about consent, one is not. I don't see how you're referring to what you're referring to as a new set of facts as a theory of this case, Merchant says, addressing the gag order. Judge appears to be pushing back on Trump's argument in favor of the president being allowed to speak publicly about Daniels' testimony. My concern is not just the protection of Daniels or a witness who has already testified. My concern is protecting the integrity of the proceedings. Oh, come on. The judge says witnesses have not yet testified would watch comments about Daniels if they were permitted, and that could influence their own testimony. Let's see. Judge explains the reason for the gag order in place. The reason why the gag order is in place to begin with is precisely because the nature of these attacks, the vitriol. He says there were very real, very threatening attacks on potential witnesses. Yeah, bullshit. And of course, he denies the gag order. Look, the gag order should only be around a jury. Okay, everyone else is free game. They come to testify. They come in public. They should be, they can be. If they come with some bullshit like Daniels did, should be able to talk about it. Because now all the news is going to say, "Oh, Trump can't." They're just gonna. It's all going to be attacking Trump. All attacking Trump. So yeah. All right. So he denied the motion to modify the gag order. Now the defense is arguing for a mistrial again. He's not going to grant this. No way he's going to grant it. Trump's attorney Blanche argues that Daniels has changed her story by suggesting that this completely made-up encounter with Trump may not have been consensual. Hoffinger got way beyond the mere fact that it happened, Blanche says. Blanche signed the spanking anecdote from Daniels in arguing for a mistrial. How is that relevant to why we're here, especially when you weigh in with the prejudiced nature? He adds again, referring to the spanking anecdote. It's almost denies belief that we're here about a records case and the government is asking about an incident that happened in 2006. This is not a case about sex. It's not a case about whether the sexual encounter happened. Something, Blanche notes, Trump continues to deny. Blanche is continuing to suggest the prosecutors ask questions they shouldn't have during Daniels' testimony, such as Daniels' reaction was to seeing Trump when she left his bathroom before their alleged sexual encounter. It's not relevant. It shouldn't have been asked, Blanche says. Why didn't you object? This is describing this is a description that is extremely prejudicial to the Trump. Blanche argues, referring to the questions intended to sway juries' emotions against a defendant. The descriptions didn't have anything to do with an arrangement involving Conan and the National Enquirer, which is the core issue at hand. Blanche argues that prosecutors didn't abide by the court's ruling in their line of questioning. He also points to the questions about their relative heights were. How is that relevant to the case? This is so prejudicial, he argues. Reading another line of testimony, Blanche notes that Daniels said there was an imbalance of power for sure when she referred to her alleged sexual encounter with Trump. Blanche says the jury has heard about a power dynamic, and none of that information goes to the motive of anyone in this case, including Trump. Blanche is saying that the judge said they did not need to know the details of the alleged sexual encounter between Daniels and Trump, but the people still asked. There was no basis for the government to ask that question, Blanche argues. The government wouldn't stop. We didn't know these questions were coming. We were sitting here hearing that for the first time at the witness stand yesterday, Blanche says. Judge pushed back on the defense arguments about anecdotes provided by Daniels during testimony. He says he sustained the objections to many of the accounts that Trump attorney Blanche now cites in his mistrial motions. Yes, but the jury still heard the question. Steinglass responds to the defense motion for mistrial by saying most of the allegations from Trump's lawyers are flat out untrue, starting with the fact that it's a new account. It's not a new account. Sounds like a new account to me. The claim of an ambush is just nonsense. The claims of changing her story is also extraordinarily untrue. There may have been details stated in one form, but not in another form, Steinglass says, but he says that's unexpected. Let's see. Addressing the defense allegation of inconsistency in Daniel's story, Steinglass is arguing that Nichols certainly probed them in her very thorough, though somewhat misleading questions. The fact of the matter is Nichols left a very misleading impression that Daniel's story had become radically different from what she said in the 60-minute interview with Anderson Cooper in 2018. Steinglass says Daniel's testimony details the conversation and experience that with Trump before and after the alleged sexual encounter is cooperative. Those are the kind of details that make her account credible. No, it doesn't. Nothing she says was credible at all. Steinglass says there was only 8 questions about the actual sexual encounter between Trump and Daniels. He argues the prosecution did not go into detail about the sexual encounter. There's no opportunity for long explanations about it. He says the question were mostly yes or no responses. Details about the alleged sexual encounter between Daniels and Trump were the motivation for Trump to keep the story quiet in 2016, Steinglass argues. The details are essentially to give the jury the tools they need to analyze her credibility, Steinglass says, arguing that Nichols was cherry-picking the details she thought were inconsistent, ignoring where Daniels has been consistent. Well, yeah, that's kind of the fucking point. Steinglass confirms McDougal, the model and actress who has said that she was paid to keep quiet about an affair with Trump, will not be called to take the stand. She was on our witness list, but we have never indicated an actual intention to call her. Then why was she on your witness list? Steinglass says that were various salacious details that were purposely omitted from Daniel's account, saying he's willing to make a seal filing with those details if necessary. Steinglass says the prosecutor specifically chose not to ask questions in a way that would elicit some details so as not to embarrass Trump. For example, Steinglass notes that the judge sustained an objection to a question that to Daniels about whether she felt anything different at the time of the alleged sexual encounter with Trump. Prosecutor says Daniels would have testified she felt the skin of a 60-year-old man, and that was different for her as a 27-year-old woman at the time. Steinglass said that would have been corroborative of her allegations. What? How? No, it's not. That's not at all. She's never fucked a 60-year-old woman or a man besides Trump? No. That's complete bullshit. We feel that we have faithfully adhered to the honor's rulings, the prosecutor says in summary. Okay, so yeah, no, of course he denies the defense motion for a mistrial. Merchant says he disagrees with Trump's assertion that Daniels gave a new account in her testimony this week. Before ruling, Merchant says the jurors have to decide who they believe in the case of the encounter between Trump and Daniels. He notes that people do not have to prove the encounter happened, but because the defense has called her credibility in questions, prosecutors have to make an effort to show her story is credible to prove their case. What about this case does it have to involve a sexual encounter? This is about falsifying business records, not a sexual encounter. The more specifically Daniels can provide about the encounter, the more the jury can weigh whether the encounter did occur, or if so, whether they choose to credit Daniels' story. There were many times Nichols could have objected, but didn't, judge says. For some unexplained reason, I still don't understand. There's no objection to certain testimonies cited in the motion for mistrial again today, Merchant says. Why on earth she wouldn't objectify to the mention of a condom? I don't understand, Merchant says, of Trump's attorney Nichols. And then that's his ruling. So tomorrow, 9:30. Oh, he's going to get another gag order violation. Guaranteed. In the hallway, he called Judge Merchant totally corrupt and conflicted. Take a look at his conflict is a disgrace to the city of New York, to the state of New York, to the country. Oh, okay. Never mind. However, it does not prevent Trump from attacking Merchant or Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Okay. Never mind. So there you go. That's the end of it. That is the end of it. So now you got to decide. So there we go. So that's the end. Done with the Stormy Daniels. It really, like, none of her story really matters in this case at all. Nothing that she says actually matters in the case when we're looking at it. Like, the sexual encounter didn't need to be gone into at all, because it's not important. This is about falsifying business records. Their attempt is like, oh, well, the reason he was, the sexual encounter did happen, so we're trying to, he's trying to keep it quiet by, that's why he's putting this money, blah, 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 blah. But like, like the details of it, the fact, like none of that actually matters. All that matters really was that she was paid. Was she paid? Yes. Okay. She was paid by, Cohen. All this stuff about her being paid and stuff, that's actually important. But the sexual encounter and all that is not important to this case. Like, it's really not, in my opinion, because, like, this is about falsifying business records. All you really need for her, at least in my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, so maybe I don't know well enough, but all you need in this case is, did he pay her? Yes. All right, there we go. Or was payment made to her by Coden? Yes. Okay, there we go. There we go. That's all we got. I don't think we needed anything else from that, but what do I know? All right, that's the end of it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you make sure you like the video. Give me a follow and check me out. We will be covering on Monday. We'll be covering day 15. And yeah, I hope you have a good day. Peace out, and I will see you later. Peace.